Now, I just want to ask you about China. Daniel Andrews is just back from China. Mark McGowan is heading to China. Anastasia Palaszczuk says she's going to China. Will you be heading there anytime soon?
In due course. I don't have it planned as it currently stands. I keenly await to see the progress between the federal government and China in respect to those tariffs that have had a disproportionate impact on South Australia. Lobster and seafood, barley, beef, and then the big one, of course, is wine. They have a disproportionate impact on the South Australian economy. So let's wait and see what the progress is on wine. I think there's been some excellent work done by Don Farrell and Penny Wong in this regard with China. And should we continue to see some appropriate progression there, then at some point, it makes sense for me to represent South Australia's interests in China. But as it stands, we've got other priorities.
Does that mean that you're waiting for more progress with the federal government, allowing them to lead the relationship with China? Is it a worry that some of these other premiers are actually playing into China's hands by being too eager to re-establish their relations?
No, I don't think so. I think Dan Andrews and Mark McGowan have a responsibility to make judgments about what's in the best interests of their respective jurisdictions, as do I in South Australia. And we are lucky from the South Australian perspective that the Federal Trade Minister and the Foreign Minister are both South Australians. They're good Australians, but understand the impact this has had on our state. So I'll work with them collaboratively, and then when the time is right and it's in the state's interests, consistent with the national interests, then I'll hopefully get to travel to China.
Have the Chinese invited you?
I have spoken to the Chinese Consul General. I haven't received any sort of formal invite, but they've certainly made it keen that at the appropriate time they would welcome a visit from us.
So they've been leading this. They've been suggesting to you that you should go to China rather than you asking them?
Oh, no, I wouldn't put it like that. I think it's just the sort of frank and warm conversation you have at a diplomatic level from a sub-national jurisdiction, which we are. And we understand our role in things. I understand my role in things. I want to represent my state's interests, just as Dan is and Mark is and Anastasia is. But we're keen to see that progress, particularly around wine, because I've been, as you appreciate, Chris, in the Riverland. I've spoken to grape growers who have had their lives turned upside down by this, and we've got to get the balance right.
Speaking of China, I've had a look at that huge consulate that they've got in suburban Adelaide, there at Joslin or St Peters. Are you concerned that that rather large base in South Australia is being used as an espionage base for the defence industries in South Australia?
Well, I haven't received any official advice that would suggest that there is a need to be concerned, Chris. Clearly, we place our confidence in our national security agencies to ensure that our national interest is protected, particularly when it comes to secure matters. It is true that in industries such as defence, space and cyber, South Australia is at the leading edge of those industries, and that's only going to grow. Now, I've no doubt, and I think this is a statement of the obvious truth, I've no doubt that China is very interested in the AUKUS activities that are occurring 20 kilometres from where we are now, Chris. And I think South Australia just has to move at light speed to develop that workforce that we know is going to be required to get those nuclear submarines built so we can get them in active service for the Commonwealth as quickly as possible, because that is consistent with our national interests, our economic interests, but also in the interests of the region.
Sounds like you're very wary then of the Chinese presence here.
No. The Chinese presence in South Australia is welcome in terms of its consulate. We want to have, thoughtful diplomatic engagement. Think about the counterfactual, Chris. Do we really want to live in the world where we don't have thorough diplomatic engagement with the largest country, or the country with the largest population and one of the largest economies?
Agreed, but we've got to be realistic about what other activities they might be interested in here.
Well, of course we do, and that's why we invest as a country in appropriate security agencies who do their work. But we want engaged diplomatic relations. I have it at a local level. There is a big Chinese community here in South Australia. They contribute a lot. They are good, hard-working people who enjoy the liberal democracy that we've got here in South Australia and in Australia more broadly. So that's worthy of engagement and actually building around rather than the opposite.
Well, thanks for speaking to us. Congratulations again on Gather Round. How many games are you going to get to over the weekend?
I'll be at least 7. The most important one, though, Chris, is on Saturday night with Port playing, but you enjoy the Crows tonight. I might even have a soft spot for the Crows this weekend.
It's one of the few weekends you got both Adelaide teams playing in Adelaide, and we can barrack for both of them.
All right, we'll get into it. Cheers, mate.
Great stuff. Thank you.